Compared to his nationally famous siblings, King Charles III, Princess Anne, and Prince Andrew, Prince Edward, the youngest son of Queen Elizabeth II and Prince Philip, has led a relatively low-profile life as a member of arguably one of the most famous families in the world. Edward has often kept his life away from the media spotlight as he carved his niche, navigating a career that required discretion and adaptability in fulfilling his royal duties. But why hasn't Prince Edward received the same level of attention as his siblings? Join us as we delve into his life. Prince Edward was Queen Elizabeth's youngest of 4 children, born on March 10, 1964. Unlike his older siblings, Edward's childhood was somewhat quieter. His mother had already been queen for over a decade when he was born, and the monarchy had settled into a more stable rhythm. His early years were quite different from those of King Charles III and Princess Anne, who had grown up during a period of heightened public interest around Queen Elizabeth's ascension. By the time Edward was born, Charles and Anne were teenagers, while Andrew, born in 1960, was 4 years his senior. Although Edward was not isolated from his siblings, his relationship with them was less close than the bond between Charles and Anne, who had already begun their public roles by the time Edward was of age. Nevertheless, he reportedly shared a close bond with Andrew, with whom he had more in common during their childhood years. During Edward's early life, speculation circulated that he was the Queen's favorite. Although the monarchy never confirmed this, the rumor wasn't entirely outlandish, as Edward appeared to have received somewhat different treatment from his siblings. Some accounts suggest that Edward's quieter, introverted personality may have endeared him to his mother, who perhaps appreciated his relatively drama-free life. Unlike his older siblings, who occasionally found themselves embroiled in public controversies and personal scandals, Edward approached his life with more caution. This is thought to have fostered a special bond between Edward and the Queen, who valued his loyalty and restraint. For example, Edward never engaged in the public disputes that his siblings did, such as Charles with his turbulent marriage to Princess Diana and Andrew with the scandals that later tarnished his reputation. Edward's path also diverged from his brothers in career choices. While his siblings embraced military service, Edward chose the arts, briefly training with the Royal Marines before pursuing careers in theatre and television. In 1987, after leaving the Royal Marines, Edward launched his own television production company, Ardent Productions. Although this career move sparked some controversy due to the advantages his royal status afforded, it also allowed him to distance himself from the traditional royal roles his siblings had embraced. Edward's desire for a private life extends to his children, as he and his wife Sophie chose to keep their family out of the spotlight. Unlike Prince William's children, Edward's children rarely appear in the media, a deliberate choice by their parents to give them as normal an upbringing as possible. They also do not hold the titles of prince or princess, reflecting Edward and Sophie's wish to shield them from the pressures that royal life can bring. Since Prince Philip's passing, Edward has taken on more public roles to support Queen Elizabeth and now King Charles III. However, even in these responsibilities, Edward prefers a background role, focusing his efforts on specific, low-profile charitable causes instead of the more prominent engagements his siblings often undertake. When Edward was born in 1964, he was third in line to the throne, following his brothers Charles and Andrew. However, the births of Charles's sons William and Harry and William's 3 children, George, Charlotte, and Louis, have pushed Edward down the line of succession, placing him in 13th place as of 2024. This shift in position afforded him greater freedom to pursue his interests and establish a life that balances royal duties with personal fulfillment. His commitment to his family and charitable work has allowed Edward to maintain a respected yet understated role within the family. Unlike his brothers Charles and Andrew, who have often been embroiled in public controversies or marital challenges, Edward has maintained a more moderate public presence. In the early 2000s, his decision to leave television production and focus on royal duties solidified this cautious approach. Edward's marriage to Sophie Rhys-Jones has also helped stabilize his public image. Though Sophie faced some media scrutiny in the early years of their marriage, she, like Edward, has largely led a private life focused on fulfilling their shared responsibilities and charity work. Despite rumors that he was the Queen's favorite, Edward's careful discretion has kept him out of the controversies and conflicts that have affected other royal family members. Being farther down the line of succession has shielded Edward from the immediate pressures of the throne, allowing him the freedom to shape a life that blends royal duty with personal fulfillment. Today, he stands out as one of the British monarchy's most stable and least contentious members, consistently offering support to his brother King Charles III. From an early age, Edward appeared destined for success, thanks to the opportunities that came his way. He began his education at Heatherdown Preparatory School in Berkshire before attending Gordonstown, a Scottish boarding school previously attended by his father, Prince Philip. Known for its demanding physical and intellectual programs, Gordonstown is famed for cultivating resilience through rigorous outdoor activities and a communal curriculum. Like his father and older brother, King Charles III, Edward's time at Gordonstown fostered self-reliance and independence. Following this, Edward continued to Jesus College, Cambridge, following his family's tradition of higher education. He graduated in 1986 with a Bachelor of Arts in History, distinguishing himself as one of the few royals to have graduated from Cambridge. His time at university further exposed him to arts and culture, sparking a growing interest in theatre and film. However, despite his passion for the creative arts, Edward initially chose a military career path, joining the Royal Marines after graduating from Cambridge in 1986. The royal family has a long tradition of military service, and both Prince Philip and King Charles had served in the Royal Navy. However, Edward found that the military lifestyle was not a fit for his personality and goals, leaving the Royal Marines after 4 months. In 1987, Edward departed from the Royal Marines, a significant step that set him apart from the conventional path followed by many in his family. Free from the structure of military life, Edward began to pursue his passion for the arts, particularly theatre and television. He had briefly worked as a production assistant for Andrew Lloyd Webber's Really Useful Theatre Company, where he gained valuable insights into backstage work. In 1993, Edward founded Ardent Productions, his own television production company. The company focused on creating documentaries, dramas, and other programming, with a particular emphasis on the British royal family and related historical topics. Although Ardent Productions received attention due to its royal connections, Edward was keen for the company to earn a respected place within the television industry based on its work alone. Over the years, Ardent Productions has created a variety of works, from documentaries like Edward on Edward *, in which Prince Edward explored the life of his great-uncle, King Edward VIII. This documentary covered Edward VIII's abdication crisis, when he renounced the throne to marry Wallis Simpson. This production allowed Prince Edward to delve into historical storytelling, although Ardent Productions struggled to find commercial success. The company's projects were often criticized for lacking professionalism, with media noting that Edward's royal status granted him access to projects that might not have been available to other emerging producers. Nevertheless, Edward was committed to nurturing his passion for media and balanced his work at Ardent with his royal duties. In 2000, Prince Edward faced a significant shift when his father, Prince Philip, Duke of Edinburgh, withdrew from public life. This meant Edward needed to take on more royal responsibilities, leading him to leave television production. Ardent Productions was subsequently closed as Edward focused on full-time royal duties, which allowed him to support his mother, Queen Elizabeth, and take on a growing number of patronages and charitable activities. With Prince Philip's retirement, Edward's role within the royal family grew more prominent, and he took a particular interest in the Duke of Edinburgh's award, youth scheme his father had established. Edward's dedication to this cause reflected both his sense of duty and his increasing influence within the royal family. His smooth transition into these new responsibilities underscored his commitment to his family's legacy. Beyond these pivotal moments, Edward's life included selecting a unique royal title. When he married Sophie Rhys-Jones in 1999, he became the Earl of Wessex, a choice that surprised many, as sons of monarchs are typically granted the rank of Duke. Edward's choice to become the Earl of Wessex was said to be inspired by his love for the arts, especially his admiration for the film Shakespeare in Love *, which features a noble character bearing that title. His mother, the Queen, approved his choice, and Edward was officially named the Earl of Wessex. It has been speculated that Edward may one day receive the title of Duke of Edinburgh, a nod to his father's legacy. His choice of title reflects a thoughtful approach to crafting his royal identity, aligning with his personal tastes and interest in history and culture, rather than strictly adhering to royal convention. His connection to the arts further underscores his lifelong appreciation for creative expression, a passion that persists despite stepping away from television production. Prince Edward's private life has also been relatively understated compared to his older siblings. His marriage to Sophie Rhys-Jones was not only modest but also carried a sense of modernity and simplicity uncommon in traditional royal weddings. This more discreet approach has helped build Edward's reputation as a grounded and private member of the British royal family. Together with Sophie, he has established a stable family life, raising two children, Lady Louise Windsor and James, Viscount Severn, who have also largely been kept out of the public eye, in line with their parents' preference for privacy. Edward and Sophie's wedding took place on June 19, 1999, at St. George's Chapel in Windsor Castle, a venue often reserved for royal ceremonies. Prince Edward and Sophie's wedding stood out for its understated nature, markedly different from the high-profile ceremonies chosen by Edward's siblings. Unlike the globally broadcasted weddings of Prince Charles to Diana and Prince Andrew to Sarah Ferguson, Edward and Sophie's ceremony was much smaller and less visible. This more subdued event aligned with their preference for privacy and a simpler life, as they chose an intimate family gathering rather than a grand public affair. Reflecting their desire for modesty, they even requested that guests refrain from wearing ceremonial uniforms, which added to the event's simple and personal tone. At the time, this decision was well received as it diverged from the traditional pomp and grandeur often associated with royal events. Sophie, unlike many members of the royal family, was not of aristocratic lineage and worked as a public relations executive before their marriage, lending the couple an image of relatability and modernity. Their wedding reflected this outlook, being a low-key occasion, yet their marriage has become one of the most resilient in the royal family. Through the years, Edward and Sophie have presented themselves as a dependable team, committed to various charitable causes and devoted to their close-knit family. Together, they have two children, Lady Louise Windsor, born on November 8, 2003, and James, Viscount Severn, born on December 17, 2007. Like their parents, both children have been raised away from the intense media spotlight, an unusual practice in the royal family. In another divergence from royal norms, Edward and Sophie chose to address their children by courtesy titles, Lady and Viscount, rather than Prince and Princess. This was a deliberate decision to ease the expectations placed upon them, as the burden of a royal title can be demanding. Their eldest child, Lady Louise Windsor, was shielded from the media from a young age, allowing her to grow up in a way that approximates normalcy for a royal. As she has matured, Louise has occasionally appeared at public events alongside her parents and displayed poise, especially during Queen Elizabeth II's funeral in 2022. Louise, who was close to her grandmother, Queen Elizabeth, enjoys spending time outdoors, often engaging in horseback riding and carriage driving, a passion she shared with the late Duke of Edinburgh. James, Viscount Severn, the younger of the two, has also led a relatively private life. As the youngest grandchild of Queen Elizabeth and Prince Philip, he has experienced a more low-profile upbringing, with his parents succeeding in keeping him largely out of the public eye. Although he holds the title of Viscount, it has not come with heavy public obligations, allowing him a quieter childhood. In 2024, Lady Louise and James were respectively 16th and 15th in line to the British throne, yet they remain relatively free from the pressures of a public life, as Edward and Sophie have intentionally sheltered them from such exposure. This modern approach to parenting has earned Edward and Sophie praise, as they focus on their children's development as individuals over strict adherence to royal expectations. Louise and James benefit from a level of privacy rarely seen among the Queen's grandchildren, allowing them a more normal upbringing while still fulfilling family commitments. In their roles as the Earl and Countess of Wessex, Edward and Sophie represent the monarchy at various events and are heavily involved in charity work, supporting causes like the Duke of Edinburgh's Award and organisations aiding people with disabilities. Together, they have established themselves as a dedicated and industrious couple within the royal family. The marriage of Prince Edward and Sophie, and the family they have built, offers a portrait of a different kind of royalty, one that prioritizes stability, family, and personal fulfillment over public attention and media scrutiny. This approach contrasts with the high-profile lives led by Edward's older siblings. Through their choices, Edward and Sophie have found a way to balance tradition with a modern perspective, creating a royal life that suits their unique values and style. To learn more about other well-known figures, feel free to check out other videos on the channel. We'll see you in the next one.